Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I'm a trained government remote viewer. Some of the kids in the program were called space babies. Coincidentally, I was trained in interspecies communication. I'm throwing this stuff out there just for you to understand my background that might make it easier for you to accept crazy stuff that my remote viewing reveals to me that I'm sharing with you. Normally, this level of information would never be shared with the public on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. But thank God I got out from under the control and I'm able to share it. And so here I'm at a very interesting point in which I think it's going to be almost irresponsible if I keep sharing. I'm not quite sure what to do. Maybe I'm not so used to not having a big boss not letting me talk, whatever it is. I have fascinating news. I'm going to go over the map first, and then I'm going to tell you the fascinating news that I have, the update. Um, let's do the map first. What do we do with the map? What I do is I have a map of the country and I sketch the energies. I don't sketch all the energies. We're in 144 dimensions and a gazillion things can be going on. I sketch what is most important. And the fact that I didn't sketch something doesn't mean it's not there. It just means that my very trained psychic abilities is letting me know that that is not the most important thing now. Okay? So let's go ahead and see this. The most important thing is the statement, fasten your seatbelts. And that's when I finished the map and it was okay. You see a purple, oh dear, a purple triangle. We're missing the other part. When I do this, I don't think because I'm not supposed to think. I'm supposed to just allow my psychic abilities to run through me and get deposited on a piece of paper. So we don't have the second half, and I'm trying with my head, I'm trying to sketch the other triangle that makes it a Merkaba, and I'm not able to, which means that it's simply not there. It's not only not there because I forgot, it's not there because it's not there to be sketched. And there's a big eye in the middle of it, and then we have moving counterclockwise, which is grounding. We have that green energy, which is the color of healing, the color of her earth, the color of the heart chakra. So we have a grounding of the kind of energy that in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, that's what you need in order not to have to be delivered from evil, in order not to be a victim and need a God to save you. We are entering a time in which we are all going to be what they teach you in Tantric Buddhism, which is that we are all gods. And then the next statement is, so, you're a God. So, and then of course, the plan is very different than if you begin with the statement, deliver us from evil. Deliver us from evil is you sit there and somebody's going to take care of you if you're good enough, if you're whatever, if you pray enough. That's not really the way that is not what was in the Lord's Prayer to start out with. So it's not a coincidence that the people that are like the tantric monks live in countryside, mountains, heavy duty earth element, which is what in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic says will protect you from evil. So we have in the United States a grounding of the earth element. And then we have a beautiful eye in the center. And the color is the highest level of ascension for this planet. I mean, I'm sure there must be other levels that are higher, not familiar with them. But in terms of the colors, if you do the chakras, the purple is the highest level. It's the color of royalty. Then you have all of the triangles, which are pyramids, which have been popping up. And when they popped up in the Caribbean, not the Caribbean, but in the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, the dolphins gave me the information that they were protection, they stabilize. So now we have them up on the West Coast too, and almost into Canada. I don't think that was the case yesterday. Let me look. This is yesterday. Nope. Nope. Look at is this okay? This is the 30th. Canada trying to play games with Trump. I think Trump kind of took care of that. See those three Merkabas, and there were actually even more, but they were blue. So that was the 31st, and this is the 30th. This is the 31st, which would have been last night. So here we have the pyramids in the Gulf of America, and I, for the first time, sketched 6 pyramids in the East Coast, and I put potential trouble. And then I dropped everything and just went to watch some television, and then I went to bed. But before I went to bed, I could see that there was troubles in New York City having to do with too much rain and the subway system. So potential trouble. I'm going to give you an update, even more of an update in a couple of minutes. So that was yesterday. So those triangles, those pyramids were necessary. And this is Mother Earth cooperating with us, trying to protect us. Okay, so that was yesterday, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I have to remember to do this time frame. And this was today. We still have the pyramids on the East Coast. We have green in Florida and green in Texas. And that those two color greens to me always represent Trump and Elon. Trump with Florida, Elon in Texas. That's really good. I mean, I think we all have the wish and the intention that there be a repair. Everything is repairable. Everything. Nothing is not repairable. But we're hoping that this gets repaired. So let me tell you what happened today, which is really interesting, which is why I'm not crying today. Um, Today we went and we had a get together with the Mantrista movement, which are my followers, to work on New York City. Now, when I went to bed last night, it almost sounded like Armageddon. When I got up in the morning, it wasn't quite as bad, but it was an old city with too much underground, um, things not updated, a subway system, people depressed, too much awful. So it did not look good, but it wasn't the apocalypse, which is good. So at 2 o'clock, we went there. But and I'm going to try to make this shorter. I really need to learn to talk more concise, like bullet points. So we were going to start, and I was explaining to everybody what it was that happened in the Pacific. That I saw something at 22nd, and then they had the earthquake. But what I saw on the 22nd is still there. We have to go back. We have to sew up that portal. Da, 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 da. And then I don't know how I got into it. I told them the whole story about the trafficking of 300,000 missing kids that came over the border. And I noticed something really weird. I'm talking, and it's almost like at that point, we probably would have been 200 people in a chat on YouTube and my platforms. It's like, it's this weird energy. And I didn't mention it. I said there is a weird energy. We're talking about 300,000 kids disappeared and people are not reacting. And we're talking about this now. And everybody's like, Dad, are you there? Can you hear me? And then people started to say, if I can pull up one or two comments, I will. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. No, that's not it. Anyway, I'm not going to waste the time. But I did take screenshots of the comments because we're not going to be able to find them on Facebook. But everybody started to comment how they felt like their mind was gone. They were brain dead. You know what? I need to go back and get a couple of the comments because I'm probably going to not use the right language, and that is not good. Okay, give me a second. This is important. I guess this is why people have assistants, right? So people don't have to wait for them. Okay, I got them. So I'm going to read you their comments in response to when I said, why are you guys like sitting there like brain dead. I don't feel like I'm reaching you. You're like gone. What's going on? Okay. Somebody said, all of a sudden I got really tired. Uh, the next one said, right now I caught a cold. Right now, I got a cold. The next person said, these are three comments in a row. You're right. I feel like I'm like dumb, like I'm not doing anything. That was one set of comments, and give the next one. Um, the next person said, not the next person, another person said, it's almost as if they were trying to disconnect us from each other, which is exactly what they were trying to do. And one more. And when I had finished talking about all the kids, somebody who's always very good and clear headed said, you know, you're right. It's a silence that's a profound silence, which I wasn't aware of. And the next person said, like we're isolated, um, like we are asleep. Somebody else said, it's almost like somebody turned off my mind. So these were the comments right after I shared the whole thing about the 300,000 kids and then the parents and the grandparents. Da, 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 da. Savi Mantrisa saying that we felt like bubbleheads and nobody was addressing the topic. Nobody was talking. It was like something fell on top of us. So I said, um, why don't we go ahead and take care of this? I said before we go to balancing out the elements in New York and figuring what we're going to do with the excess water in the other dimensions. Um, and then I said to everybody, start to read. Who's doing this? I want to know who's doing this. The conclusion before, and I may not get the sequence correctly, but the conclusion was pretty early on in the 2 hours that we were working was that I was the one who said it, there was black magic on the subject of the missing children. So that when people talk about it, this black magic is triggered and then people's minds kind of leave. They're like in La La Land. We were 300 people. And it was like this wall went up or down or whatever. So there, whoever is handling the whole missing children thing has done a really good job, 360, to make sure that the nice guys, good guys, mediocre guys are asleep on that subject. In the Spanish TV stations, they will cover when there's a press release about picking up these bad guys and saving all these children. But they are not talking about the children that are lost because there's a mind control program. And the word that I got was military mind control program because it could have been a cult. And not a cult, it's a military mind control program. So now the mystery of how this could have gotten so out of hand is solved, which I think I hinted at yesterday. I'm doing too much. I'm working with too much information, and I'm not supposed to put it in order. That's another thing. I'm supposed to just not channel it. Well, you call it whatever you want. I'm processing it. I'm delivering it. I'm revealing it. Whatever. But I'm not supposed to be running around handling it. And the next time I'm supposed to look at a situation brand new, like with the map of the United States. So, conclusion. The reason the missing children did not trigger the parents, the grandparents, and the cousins is because of a mind control program that is planetary. And that when we start to talk, somebody starts to talk about it, the program gets triggered and everybody gets like, Savi Mantrisa said, like bubblehead, like we're dumb, like our minds are gone. And that explains it because it's other than that, and of course that is the explanation, but that is ending up being the explanation to everything today. having to do with all the ugly stuff. It ultimately you could say, well, they want to make all this money. I'm not so sure it has to do with money, power. Oh, I just realized power on the planet used to be land, and then it was factories, and then it was dollars, money, and then it was age of information. It was information. Today, power is a collection of minds, MINDS, like your mind. I've known that for 30 years. I have not said it because I knew instinctively that was not good for me to share that. It wasn't going to be good for me, and I wasn't going to get. I'm willing to sacrifice myself, but only if I know that this is going to work. Why would I just throw myself out there and just. So I haven't said a word. Power today is not factories, it's not money, it's not information, it's not technology. It's a power of the mind, which means magic, which is what I'm trying to teach you, white magic. Meanwhile, we're having to plow through all of this stuff. So we worked on the program and oh my God. We worked on clearing the program because I asked the dolphins and I figured they would say, no, step away from that. That's too dangerous. You don't need to touch that. So I'm going to read you literally what the dolphins responded because I was a little bit shocked. Um, this was their response when I said, do we go and try to purify the programming? And their response was, Trump did his job. Now do yours. Okay. So, anyway, so we jumped in and we went, and it was a mess because they were still doing the mind control. So I said, can we see if maybe we can see where these people are? Who are these people? Whatever. I'm not happy with what I'm going to tell you because this is not good for me because of my living conditions. The place that I landed up. Now, I'm not going to say that the entire planetary mind control having to do with missing kids and whatever the hell it is they do with them. But I can tell you that when we got into that today, and that was the subject, the people that were putting this, that triggered this military mind control program so that everybody would just go brain dead and we wouldn't have an issue of talking about it, the people were in a home I identified 3 or 4 years ago. I told the mayor of Coral Gables, Vince Lago, about it. It is 5 blocks away from where I lived before I got here because Coral Gables is small. And I lived in like downtown Coral Gables. It's right near the police department. In that house, and how do I know about that house? Because I got very aggressive about defending myself in the sense that I started taking a lot of photographs with everybody following me, and I took a photograph of a car that was obviously following me. I license plate, and when I tracked it, it belonged to the people in that home, and that person works at the University of Miami doing research on microwave weapons, the thing that they used against my group for 5 years. That's where, from there is where they were doing what they were doing to us at 2:30 in the afternoon today, not 5 years ago, today. So I'm like, wow. And a couple of other people saw people, but there were different images, but some, I did not give the mantra as clearly as it needed to have been because we were being attacked at the mind level. Uh, but I was looking at it and there was no furniture in the house because I had already talked about them before. So I'm sure I would have figured they would have moved out and never got back there. So it was like kind of empty. And there was one person in a chair. This is 2 or 3 hours ago, in a chair with their back to me, and I couldn't see them. So I went, okay, so whatever, that's where it's from. Why don't we go ahead and do something and see if we can't get this to stop? And so I actually did something. And then it got messy for the bad guys. And then the guy in the chair that I couldn't see, his chair fell over. So I knew that we were shaking him up because we had, at that point, we had maybe 300 people and they were doing whatever it is that they do, having to do with trying to stop the bad guys. And then I saw who it was. Now, this man was the head of a department at the University of Miami. He came to my wedding. He lives in Grove Isle. He was one of the ones that got me out of Grove Isle like a bat out of hell. This is the guy in charge with the psychotronic weapons. And not only that, this is the guy that made the heavy duty connection between magic and psychotronic weapons. And he's still operational. Now, when my control made me institute a lawsuit for sexual abuse in the 90s against my handlers and all these guys here in Miami, it did not make it to court because there was a change of law, whatever. There were 3 women in that lawsuit. The main one was me, and then they found 2 more fillers who actually had been abused. It wasn't that it was not true. Only one person came against me, and it was this man from the University of Miami, who he had left, and he ended up being the head of a huge department at the University of Miami having to do with Cuba. That was the guy today who probably was the one who invented, I could be wrong on that, maybe it was Adam Schiff, I don't know, but we're talking that level, not of power over people, but of knowledge of technology and the human mind. I was like, oh my God, this makes sense. Now, I had said his name once in a chat and they took it out of the chat. Facebook went, delete, delete. Chat continued, the name's not there. And I kind of knew it was a little bit dangerous because he did work, and he probably still works for the intelligence community. This was today, this afternoon, between 2 and 4. You can see the chat. It's in Spanish, but you can see the chat. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about 300,000 children missing. And we're talking about there's a mind control program, a military mind control program that gets triggered when people start to talk about that. And that's why it's not talked about, which is what I was 2-3 years ago. I didn't say a word because I knew, people were going to say, you're crazy, whatever. And then even when they started saying it a little bit in the news, it was like people aren't reacting. And yesterday I said, what's going on here? People are not reacting. It doesn't make any sense. Military mind control, psychotronic weapons. The ones that in Cuba, if you're going to be a psychiatrist, you must take courses on it because it makes people mentally ill. And that guy, which I can pretty much guarantee you, I could be wrong. I'm sure he's the most expert of all of them. And I am sure that he is the one who perfected the connection between psychotronic weapons and black magic. To the point where a lot of santeros, curanderos, black magicians, have some of those machines. Now, this is today. Now, is somebody going to go pick them up, take them down? I can make a mistake. Like I told you who I thought my handler was. I can make a mistake that it's a visual, which is not my strength. I can make a mistake on that. I'm not making a mistake on who he is, the fact that he's dying, the fact that he has, or it appears he's dying STD. He's trying to infect everybody. Apparently he wants to go down and take everybody down with him. That I don't make a mistake of. The location, this today, the way it played out systematically and how clearly I saw it, that happened today at that time. And it is perhaps the explanation of why you can have 300,000 kids go missing and there is not a normal reaction. So how much longer are the bad guys going to be able? I can tell you they were very frightened, and several other people also saw that they were very frightened once we started. And once I did a particular task It was like something like popped or whatever. Um, you don't even know that there's 72,000 mind strings that are talked about in the Lord's Prayer. Cords that bind us, release the strings. That's in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. Oh, it's not what we got. And here we end up to where we look stupid and brain dead because somebody knows more about our mind than we do. I think this is going to get taken care of. Now, I want to go back to the map because the map says fasten your seatbelt. And I said, with the thing with the Pacific, which we apparently, because I asked my followers, I said, did people think that there was less damage than they had expected? Everybody thought there was less damage. And there wasn't that much for what it was. It's not like there wasn't a tsunami. There was a tsunami. It reached many places, but it was much softer. And I attribute a lot of that to the work that we did. Why am I saying this? Because I believe it. But more, I'm saying it because you can do this. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. A group together doesn't even have to be that group. The first night that we did that with the tsunami, I don't know, 100 people. You don't have to have a PhD. And as a matter of fact, if you're too intellectual, would probably disinvite you from the group because you'd ask too many questions that we cannot answer, but we know what we could do. So we're in a good place. But the map says fasten your seatbelt. So what do I think is going to happen? Let me go there and then we will finish. Okay. Fasten your seatbelt, in my opinion, has to do with some type. Well, I think there's going to be something else in the Northeast coast because we still have three of those triangles there. And then we have triangles we didn't ever have either at the upper West Coast, all the way at the top, all the way into Canada. So I think there's going to be stuff because the first time I drew it, there was stuff, which is what's going on in New York now. And then I think there's going to be another incident. What is it going to be? Where is it going to be? I have no idea. Now, I had said that the bad guys were kind of sitting down, you know, fanning themselves, waiting for certain things to happen. In other words, from my point of view, the bad guys already lost. Just fold, turn in your cards, fold, fold your chair, leave. And they were sitting there just kind of because they apparently set up planetary events to where everything would be in a scramble. And then, of course, it's so easy for them to come in and take over, or maybe they're right there already. I don't know. The planetary scramble having to do with the Pacific, that got stopped. There's still the portal. And I've told everybody several times a day to go there with gold thread and sew it up, get it sewn up so that we have the Northeast, and I believe there's going to be at least one other incident. I have no idea. These things were planned in advance in order to shake everybody up. They already lost in the sense of they're not getting away with murder. People are awake. Now we find the mind control thing. So then how do they stay in power? If there's enough chaos, I'm assuming that is what it is that they're thinking. So we are in a really interesting time, and Miami is a really interesting place. And there's stuff that I cannot say here having to do with this man who gave me when I got married. My husband and I, we were Cuban refugees, and we were poor as church mice. We had nothing, and we had a wedding. And I remember that we had to stand up against a particular where the windows were, and there was curtains, and they were taking our wedding pictures. And I remember that the curtain had a big hole in it. And we were poor, really poor, had a big hole in it. So we had to position people and things so that the big hole in the curtain wouldn't show up in our pictures. That wedding, this man went to and gave us a silver pitcher. I'm not even sure I knew what silver was at that point. A silver as in a silver adornment. I don't know. Um, and I kept it for decades. And then when I was in Grove Isle, when this man wanted me out of there, his wife showed up at my door. And there were witnesses to this. She knocked on the door and I said, "Hi, can I help you?" She said, "Yes. Listen, I am so and so's wife." Okay. She's in a wheelchair. Hint, hint, hint. And she said, "My husband says he doesn't know you." I said, "Who are you again?" And she told me, I said, "Your husband gave me and my husband, he came to our wedding 30 or 40 years ago, but he came to our wedding. He knows exactly he was the only one who came against me in the lawsuit in the 90s for sexual abuse. Before it was a thing to take people to court for sexual abuse, my control required that I take this group to court over sexual abuse. And the only person that came against me, I have no idea what he would have said in that court if it ever had reached that, or whatever. So I said, "Your husband came to my wedding. He says he doesn't know who you are." I said, "That's fine." "Okay, it's fine. He came to my wedding. I know who he is. He used to be the head of this department. Da, da, da. Yes, but he does not know you." "Yeah, okay, fine." So anyway, she left. And when I went downstairs, she was complaining in the office with all these things that I was saying because I had sent him. Anyway, I'm making it too long. He's here. He's in Miami. He lives in Grove Isle. Okay? They have something else planned. Do they have something planned? Well, they certainly have planned to make us all brain dead. I'm not sure that I don't know who's doing the other things because I think that what is that weather manipulate? I have no idea. I don't know at this point. So I'm much happier today because we moved the needle on the children. If we actually did break that program, that means that the Hispanic stations should be talking about it more because today the only thing they do is when the police department put out a press release, we picked up these many people, they'll repeat it. But they're not talking about all the people, the kids that are missing. And we're not hearing it from Latin America. And when I mentioned it to a couple of people, they said, "Well, no, people are afraid of the United States." When it's your kid, no, 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 no. There was something weird going on. We now know it was military mind control, and now it can be taken care of. We may have taken care of that program today. I don't know. They were sitting there waiting for my chat, which is not unusual. That's happened dozens of times. But what they did was very different from all the other times. And it appears that it had to do with very specifically uh, a program for any time that is triggered by people wanting to look at what happened to all these kids. That's it. I'm finished. But I'm certainly a lot happier than yesterday because I don't feel so frustrated. We've moved in the right direction. Let's go ahead and do give me a second. And excuse me, my dog wants something. What do you want, Martin? Okay, give me a minute. I'm going to put the music on and we're going to do this mantra. And while you do it, I'm going to run down. I'm going to let because I'm babysitting a dog. Okay. I have two options. Even though I want to die, love and accept myself, which will help with that virus that keeps getting thrown at this planet to make people want to die, not want to live, not have vitality. And the other one is even though I hate. Let's do the even though I hate. I'm coming. Doesn't usually cry. Okay, so you repeat the mantra in silence. You expel through your mouth. And I'm going to put the water one of the water music videos, which hmm, hmm. We're going to put the one in the subconscious so you can get the hate from way down there. And we'll be back with the dog out. We finished because I have some gossip for you. This whole thing with magic is really fascinating. Um, I normally walk an hour a day with my dog, but things got more iffy having to do with the bad guys, so I was told, just don't leave the apartment. Okay. So, and I've been wondering, and then I lay around a lot because I can't go any place. The apartment's not that big, whatever. I don't have equipment here, whatever. So, um, I thought, God, I'm going to put on a lot of weight, and my legs. But no, I didn't. Oh, that was good. So anyway, so 2 days ago, there's, I guess when you get into my position, a lot of people are looking at you, and then some people become interested, whatever. And then whatever. Oh, and I also have a pattern of that. Oh, I need to take care of that. So I'm I tried to get into two pair of jeans. I but I this has been the same day. One pair, I was like, and then with the first pair, I thought maybe we washed it in water that was too hot, and then it just kind of shrunk completely, like from one day to the next. And then I tried on the second pair because the first pair I couldn't wear. I mean, I put it on for 10 minutes to see if it would stretch. And I tried the second pair. I went to bed last night. I was scared. I thought, well, maybe I'm having a circulation problem from one day to the next, and then I have all this extra liquid in my legs, except they don't look it that from one day to the, how can that be? And then I started to look for what the issue was, and it turned out that somebody is jealous of me. Somebody who obviously doesn't only sees me from the waist up because I don't have a great body. And so they did black magic to make me not look good. Okay. But you know what they did? But we're talking, I went from everything is okay with my jeans and my pants, everything is okay. I'm actually surprised because I stopped moving to in one day, the difference being so big, I got scared. So this person's just been doing black magic, and they got a doll and they got meat and they wrapped it around the hips and whatever of the doll and then did whatever ritual. And meanwhile, I'm laughing my head off because I swear I thought this has got to be a health issue. You can't in 24 hours. You cannot be retaining this much liquid. And why am I telling you this story? Because it's cute. It is cute. Why am I telling you this story? For you to understand the power of the other dimensions and magic. It really works. The good news is that ultimately, um, it doesn't really work for most people. And I've explained that to my followers, some of whom have one foot in that world. If you look at the people that are really into black magic, I'm not talking at a planetary level like these dingbats, regular people. If you look at the lives of the people that actually do that for a living, they don't live well. They don't have money. They don't go on vacation. They don't have okay cars. They don't have okay apartments. And their kids are not doing well. And 10% of the autistic children I took care of in the 90s, and man, I was not expecting that. It was because of their families were into spiritual practices like Santeria and Brujeria. So, but anyway, I wanted to just give you a little bit of a funny story. And I'll try the jeans on again tomorrow to make sure that I did purify that. But I thought that was kind of interesting. And which I'm not going to tell you the story now, but some of you guys have thoughts and then it bounces off on somebody else who's watching. That's not just me. That would be anyone who's in this position, whatever you're watching. So something that you might be thinking about me is bouncing off somebody else and they end up thinking the same thing. It's not a question of it being bad. It's just a question. It's so fascinating. We think our head and what we think is ours, and it turns out that it's not. And I'm thinking 24 hours, I developed a deathly condition because somebody's jealous. Anyway, thank you for listening and for following. Please share all this information because which is what I say, the more people know about all this stuff, they can't get away with it. And then we'll deal with the whole thing with the aliens maybe tomorrow.